I'm Dr. McCullough today, and welcome to the class. We're going to go over weight loss and obesity. This is a big thing in America today, and recently the information that's come out is indicating about 85% of Americans are overweight or obese. And most people are interested in weight loss because they want to look better, but underlying my talk today, I want to make sure that we underline our talk with the health reasons and the health benefits of being the proper weight, more than just the fact that we look good. And we're going to have a benefit of looking good too. Obesity, as we know, is associated with many degenerative type diseases, diabetes, arthritis, heart disease, and we've heard it over and over and over, you need to lose weight. In fact, it's gotten almost epidemic where you go to see a doctor, and if you are overweight and they can't find anything right off the bat wrong with you, that's going to be what the problem is. Oh, you're overweight, you need to lose some weight. But how do you lose weight? What's the effective way to lose weight? And just losing weight, does that make a difference whether you're going to be healthy or not? Because on the bottom line is, not only do we want to be good looking and look good and fit into our clothes, we want to be healthy. That's even more important than whether you have the proper weight. But the two go together. What exactly is being overweight? What we do in medicine is we measure the percentage of body fat. And we have to have a certain amount of body fat to be healthy. And in females in America, we say anything over 25% body fat is overweight. And in males, it's 20%. And so when we figure out how much weight you should have to lose, we use a piece of equipment in our office, and this is a digital piece of equipment. It measures the percentage of body fat. And we'll do a little simple quiz like this. Earlier we had one of you guys did this, and she was about 145 pounds, and she came out around 145 pounds. She came out to how much? Yeah, but she was 25% was her body fat. Was it 30%? 30% was her body fat. And we subtract 25 from that, and it's 5%, and we multiply the 5% times the 145, come out with about 7 pounds should be what she should initially lose. And that would be our initial goal. There's also a lot of myths and things that we've heard all of our lives about true and false things about diet, and I gave you guys a little diet quiz, and I kind of want to go over that today. Let's just go through 1 through 10. First one is it is good to eliminate fat from your diet. Is that true or false? Okay, we had a lot of different answers. It's false. And this is going to be a big thing we're going to talk about today, because fat is really the key to losing weight as well as being healthy, particularly on the health side. Fat is bad for your health. Okay, that's false also. We've also heard this one: if I eat 3 meals a day from the 4 food groups and don't snack, I'll get all the minerals and vitamins I need. Okay, that's false. And in fact, I heard that on television from a doctor the other day. And this is absolutely just not true. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Mom always told us this one. That's false also. And this one's real popular. If I eat a heavy meal at night, will it turn to fat? Okay, that's false too. Skipping meals is bad for you. Okay, that's false also. And Grandma wouldn't be too happy with all these, would she? You should drink plenty of fluids with your meals. Okay, that's actually false. Good. And the reason is we have enzymes, we have acid in our stomach. Now, we try to make things sometimes sound like they're bad for us, like acid in our stomach is bad for us, and you hear this causing reflux and all these things we're having today. Acid is good for us. Acid digests the proteins, and it digests other things in the stomach, and if you don't digest it properly, you end up in a state of malnutrition or have problems with your health. And in fact, if the acid environment isn't exactly right in the stomach, the valves in the stomach won't release the food into the next section of the intestinal tract, and it'll actually cause the reflux, because it's not acid enough. And so actually, even though we're giving medications today to stop acid from even being produced, it's going to be counterproductive in many cases. So you want, and if you drink fluids, it's going to dilute this. It's necessary to exercise to lose weight. Okay, that's false also. And we all know people have had cancer, and they just, they don't exercise when they lose weight, and other folks have been in prison camps and things like that. So we know that that's not really necessary either. I'm going to go to the 10 first. Thyroid problems can cause weight gain. Well, that's true. And so can other endocrine problems or other glands in the body. However, it's not the primary. About 1% or less of the population actually has thyroid or endocrine problems that cause problems with the weight. And the last one, and we'll talk about it, we'll have another doctor speak later on this, is weight gain a mental problem? True, and I have some falses, and both of you guys are right. It's actually both true and false. Weight gain is a dual situation. We have a physiological or a physical need for certain things, or a physical problem with weight gain or loss, and we also have a mental. And I'm going to talk today about the physical aspect that's going to help you to understand why we're so overweight in this country, and maybe you've had trouble too. Last one's a bonus question. Which system in the body has the most effect on weight gain or loss? The digestive, the nervous, the circulatory, or the endocrine? Okay. Everyone, different answers here. The answer is the nervous system. The nervous system is the one that controls everything. So that's the one that we want to really look at too. It's an interesting quiz. It kind of eliminates some of the myths and things that we've heard all our lives. I know we probably upset Grandma and even Mom about skipping meals and all that. But those are the things we've heard, and we're going to kind of set that to rest. Well, what are the reasons for obesity, and why are we overweight in this country? We know we just figured out that lack of exercise wasn't it, and too much fats. We've heard that one, and everybody's starting to understand that. How about overeating? Just plain overeating. Is that the cause? That really is the cause, but it's not the total answer. Why do we overeat? Is just 85% of the population just pathological overeaters? Is everybody just want to eat all the time in this country? There are a lot of folks that really don't eat that much, yet they gain weight, and they can't lose weight. How come? Well, there's reasons for that, and we're going to talk about it today. But the real reasons are several in nature. One is fat and protein deficiencies, and we're going to go in that in depth today. The second one is what we call dysbiosis, or problems in the digestive system that do not process the food properly, and you end up in a state of malnutrition. And if you're in a state of malnutrition, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to stay hungry all the time. You're going to constantly want to eat so you can put the proper nutrients in your body, because it's a physiological drive, just like drinking water. If I take water away from you, after a day or so, things are going to get pretty bad. You may even go steal some water, even though you're a really nice person. You have to have that water. You're going to be driven to have it. Well, you're going to be driven to have certain nutrients in your body, and if you aren't getting them, we call that malnutrition. And it doesn't matter how much you eat. If you're in a state of malnutrition, you're going to have a physiological drive to eat. You're going to continue to eat until you get there. We also have food allergies, and food allergies are real common. And I've seen many cases clinically in the clinic where we find food allergies, and we take them off the foods they're allergic to, and they lose weight just with that. There's a book called Your Food Allergies Are Making You Fat. I don't remember the author exactly, but you may pick it up, and he'll talk about how this occurs physiologically in the body. But that's a real important thing to identify. There are two primary reasons other than the psychological. The other one is just plain old misinformation, medical misinformation. And I want to start off with what we have here. We've all seen this food pyramid before. We grew up with it in our health classes in elementary school and high school. All of us who went to medical school or biology or whatever we took, this was what they taught us. They said, this is what it is right here. You need to base your diet in carbohydrates, which are grains and bread, and then you have some fruits and vegetables, the next and most important thing, and they supply you vitamins and minerals, and then you have your protein and your meat and dairy, and then fat on the top of the pyramid. This is the most important, next, next, and next. And I want to talk about this. And I want to show you that this is misinformation. And this is the reason why we are fat today in the United States and overweight, because we are going by a model that is incorrect. Okay, let's get a little bit deeper in here. Let's talk about each one of these things. First of all, let's start up at the top. Fat. Do you have to have fat to survive? Yes, you do. Okay. If you have to have something to survive, we call that essential. It just so happens that medically we have to have one essential fat, linolenic acid. Now, does that mean that this is the only fat that we need to be healthy? No, it doesn't. What it means is that you must have this one, and your body will manufacture the other fats and make everything else it needs in the fat category or the fatty acid category in your body. So this is an essential fatty acid. If you don't eat it, what will happen? You will die, and you'll be very unhealthy. Next thing is proteins. How about proteins? Do you have to have proteins? Yes, you do. Proteins, in fact, there's 9 essential amino acids, and they're the structure of the body. Now, there's many, many amino acids that we need, but you remember what I said about essential? Essential means that you must take these in with your diet, and your body can make the rest of them. If you don't take in these 9, then you're going to be in a state of what? What did I say earlier? Malnutrition. And if you're in a state of malnutrition, hunger is going to still be there until you fulfill that requirement. So 9 essential amino acids and 1 fat. Now, fruits and vegetables, are they essential? The fruits and vegetables aren't essential, but some of their contents are. We must have vitamins and minerals. They are essential. So fruits and vegetables are very important. Run out of room. How about carbohydrates? Do we have to have carbohydrates to survive? No, we don't. There is no requirement for carbohydrates other than for energy. So we have 0 right here. So in order to survive, and your body's going to drive you toward your survival mechanism. In order to survive, there's going to be 2 things that you absolutely have to have perfect in the body, or you're going to continue to be hungry, and that's what? Fats and proteins. Okay? So let's talk about fats first, because we have it at the top, and it's very, very important. And I want to talk about something in health here. There's 2 types of fats, cis and trans fats. Cis fats are good fats, and they come from natural sources like olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, nuts and seeds, and many plants. And they're not heated. They're cold pressed. In other words, you don't want to heat them up and process them like we do our oils that's sitting on the shelf in the grocery store. You want this from natural sources. The downside to these good fats are they go rancid on you. But that's also a way when you're selecting your foods is if an oil will go bad on you, it's probably okay. If an oil won't go bad on you, if it sit on the shelf through a nuclear attack, even though it's liquid, it's not good for you. And these are shaped like this. And when these fats combine together in the body, they make up our cells. What part of our cell is made up of all fats? Does anybody know? The cell membrane. The outside, the covering, the structure of every cell in our body is made up of fats. So are fats important? You better believe it. That's why they're essential. You must have fats or you can't even function. You cannot repair your tissue. You can't have any healing process go on. And in fact, linolenic acid, for example, we talked about, some of the things we see that are very bad are hair loss, dermatitis, wound healing problems, if you have a problem with not getting enough linolenic acid, all those will occur in addition to many, many other things. But it's critically important. Now, it's important to know that to have nice junctions between here, so when this cell membrane is in one piece, you don't have holes in it like that. Trans fats are our fats that are processed. They're heated up to very high degrees, and they bubble hydrogen through it, and it makes it last a long, long, long time. However, your body doesn't utilize them properly, and they're the wrong shape. They're shaped like this. So, when you start sticking these bad fats and good fats together, what happens? You get little tiny holes in the cell wall. So instead of this being nice and smooth, you start getting defective cells in the body. Now, the fats are one of the key to health, and linolenic acid is very good. Not only for health, remember, if this is a defective cell wall and it's not built correctly, you're really essentially in a state of malnutrition, and your body's going to crave foods to fill in these gaps. Doesn't your body want to be healthy? When you cut yourself, does it heal up, or do you have to walk around with stitches for the rest of your life? Your body wants to heal itself, so it's going to drive itself toward the essential things that it needs. Protein is also important too. So in order for this to occur and make everything nice and smooth, and this goes from blood vessels to kidneys to lungs to everything, you have to have two essential things: fats and protein. You also need vitamins and minerals. Okay, with that in mind, everybody have that, understand that? With that in mind, let's look back at this pyramid again. Let's talk about information. And remember, we're talking about weight loss and health, and we're talking about removing the physiological drive, the craving to eat. That's what we're talking about. So let's redo our pyramid, and I'm going to let you guys help me. Y'all tell me what should be on the bottom. Protein. I'll agree with that. Y'all remember how many proteins that you have to eat to survive? 9. What else do we have to have? Fat. How many of those we have to have? Now, is that the only kind of fat we have to have? No. But it's so critical. It's so critical. If you don't have it, the body can't function. And I'll tell you, we don't hardly get any of this GLA in its pure form in our diet, in our American diet. Almost none. Absolutely none. And when you don't have it, you've got that physiological drive. What else do we have to have? Actually, today, you could almost get away with taking vitamins and minerals, but you have to. I'm going to put up here fruits because they're the best source, and vegetables, but it also, you can substitute vitamins and minerals, okay? You don't get vitamins and minerals, you're not going to make it. They're cofactors, and they make everything happen. What's up here? What's left? Carbs. How many of those do we have to survive? So what kind of physiological drive are we going to have for that, really? None. Not unless you're an athlete or something where you need energy, because that's an energy source. Now look at our pyramid. Is that misinformation? From a standpoint of weight loss and health, absolutely it's misinformation. It's completely upside down. And if we don't address these issues from a physiological standpoint, the craving that pushes you to overeat will never end. And today we have some pretty simple ways of doing that. We have wonderful supplements and wonderful little pills. And someone's asked me the other day, well, what kind of fat should I eat? Ideally, you know, you want to eat extra virgin olive oil and get your nuts from seeds and nuts and things like that. But guess what? We have little pills you can take, and you just pop them down real nice and easy, and you get all the perfect fat that you need. We have lot numbers from companies. We track this stuff. It's done perfect. Same thing with protein. You can get your protein from eating certain types of meats, but we want to avoid the saturated fats in there. We also have highly refined amino acids that don't even require much digestion. They'll go right into the system. So we can do this and cause you very little pain in life and very little change in your lifestyle and accomplish wonderful things for your health. Now, what are the side effects to doing this? Well, I'm trying to think of some bad ones, but you know, nice soft skin for the ladies, and nice hair, and wound healing gets better, and lack of heart disease, and reduction in diabetes, and the repair of all your tissues much better. That's the side effects of doing this properly. No drug will do that. Just lowering cholesterol is not going to do what this will do. Okay, this is very important, and this is really the key to our program. So if you understand what we've done here today, you understand that when you reverse this pyramid, one more thing real quick. What do they do in the stockyards to fatten up the cows to bring them to market? Well, other than the steroid, that's a good point, but don't they put them and they feed them grains for 2, 3, 4 weeks? Remember I had grains here? That's how you get fat. You eat grains, you eat carbohydrates. Carbohydrates is a food to supply us with energy. It's not essential unless you're in a situation where you need fast energy. We actually can produce all the energy we need from fats and proteins. It's just a little inefficient. So for example, carbohydrates, and everyone's different, so I would look at your activity level as a doctor and I'd say, you know, if an athlete wants to lose weight, then we're going to have carbohydrates in their diet. But if someone who does absolutely nothing but do the remote control, the carbohydrates are not that important. So we have to look at the person's activity level in order to make them comfortable. We want to make this an absolute painless situation. I mean painless. We want to reduce it to 2 things. We want to take the cravings completely away and improve your health. And then the next thing you have to deal with is what we talked about earlier, the mental aspect to it. You must change your lifestyle. Once the cravings are gone, you have to change your lifestyle and to quit entertaining yourself with food or whatever else you do with food and change that. And I've looked at many programs around the country, both good and bad, and I've run across a doctor that I feel has a very good program that kind of mixes into this, because once we take the physiological cravings away, he's got a nice program that fits into the mental aspect of it. And he's going to discuss that with us in the next half of the seminar. And so I'd like to introduce Dr. Jim Will.
All righty. Thank you, Dr. McCullough. Appreciate the introduction. And also, I don't know about y'all, but I learned something this morning. And it's been very interesting. And it, some of those things reinforces some of the beliefs that I had, but some of them were brand new information to me. What I'd like for you to do is you should have one of these sheets. And right underneath the title where it says How to Lose Unwanted Weight Safely, Effectively, and Permanently, there's a sentence. And I'd like for you to read the sentence that's underneath the title there, be this sentence right here. Read it carefully, and when you finish reading that sentence, I want you to do 2 things. I want you to count how many times you see the letter A. Okay? Count how many times you see the letter A in that sentence. The sentence states, losing weight, of course, can take lots of hard work, tons of effort, and huge amounts of willpower unless I can find my scotomas. Okay? How many A's do you see? Everybody agree? No? 7? Did I hear 6? Okay. Anybody get 5? Alrighty. Anybody find less than 5 or more than 7? All right, now I want you to go from an A to an F. An A to an F. 5, 7, 6. Do I hear 4? Danny's got 4? All right. Any more than 7 or less than 3? Okay. Now, who's absolutely sure of their answer? Vicki, how many A's and F's?
Oh, 7 and 5.
7 and 5. Does everybody agree with Vicki? I see some heads nodding no. Ron, how many do you have? 7 and 7. Everybody agree with Ron? No, sorry. Jackie? 7 and 6. Everybody agree with Jackie? What we're finding out is everybody in here has a different answer, right? And we all have a different perception of what we think is real, what we think is the truth. We also have perceptions of weight loss. And that's what we want to talk about today. And as Dr. McCullough was saying, the mental aspect of losing weight. The correct answer is 7 A's and 7 F's. How about that? Now, where are those A's and F's that we may be missing? And by the way, I'll stay afterwards and I'll help you find them if you don't see them all. Some of the A's might be hiding in, well, what words might they be hiding in? Maybe and or can, perhaps hard. And what about the F's? Where are they hiding? That's right. Maggie said of. And that's the word that tricks us sometimes. And why? Because, and did any of y'all realize that you had an attitude about A's and F's when you came here today? What attitudes do we have about A's and F's? What attitudes do we have about losing weight? What beliefs, what opinions do we have about losing weight, how difficult it can be, how hard it can be? What beliefs and attitudes have we been reinforcing for years and years and years with our own self-talk, with our own thinking, our own daydreaming? And then if we're not careful, maybe some other people have been reinforcing some beliefs and attitudes. A young lady told me yesterday, she said that her grandfather, when she was growing up, every time he would see her, he would look at her and he'd say, well, how much do you weigh now? And she said that stuck in her mind. He's been dead for 20 years. And yet she has been reinforcing that conversation, that belief, that opinion that she's always overweight. And just last night when we were discussing this, she said, you know, I don't have to believe that anymore, do I? And I said, no, not really. You don't have to. And so I want you all to look at some of the beliefs and some of the attitudes, some of the opinions that you and I have been carrying around about losing weight, how difficult it is, how hard it is, you know, the beliefs that you and I have been reinforcing from our parents, from our grandparents, from our families, from good-intended people, perhaps the media, perhaps the schools, the PEs, all kinds of arenas. Now, I mentioned that we have an attitude about A's and F's. What attitude are we talking about? We have an attitude thinking that of, what does of sound like? Exactly, a UV, a V sound, of. And this is how powerful our beliefs can be. As long as we believe that of is a V, then we can be blind and have a scotoma, S-C-O-T-O-M-A, a scotoma, and that's a Greek word meaning a blind spot. It's actually a medical term meaning that you can't see something that's right in front of you, a scotoma. And what happens is that we have the belief that of is a V, and that belief is stronger than the reality of the F right in front of our eyes. If we miss some A's and F's right in front of our eyes, what else could we be missing? Could we be missing some new techniques, those like Dr. McCullough just shared with us? Could we be missing some other beliefs and attitudes that have been handed down to us, unintentionally perhaps, but doggone it, we've been reinforcing them. And we talk about the mental aspect of losing weight. What do we mean by the mental aspect? I call it self-talk. And what do we mean by that? Self-talk is the conversation that you and I are having with ourselves all the time. How many of you have heard that it's okay to talk to yourself, but if you start to answer, then we're supposed to check in the keys and I'm here to tell you that it's okay to talk to yourself. As a matter of fact, can you stop talking to yourself? I don't think so. I've given this as a challenge for many, many years, and I've told people, please call me and let me know if you can stop talking to yourself. I don't think that we really can. What the good news is that we can start to manage it and control it and focus it on the goals and the desires that we want. Now, this self-talk has been going on for many, many years. As a matter of fact, those of you that have young babies or youngsters and recall when they were babies, they have expressions on their face, don't they? So I don't know exactly when we become aware of our self-talk. For me, it took many years because I was in the field of psychology, and we used to kid each other and say, you know, it's okay to talk to yourself, but if you start to answer, and that was a belief that was handed down to me in my own profession. And the good news is that it's okay to talk to yourself. We can't stop talking. And what I want to do today is to teach you how to control it and manage it and keep it focused so that it will help you in your goals and your desires, and especially today in this session on weight loss. Does that make sense? Do you see where, you know, we want to lose weight. What's keeping us from doing it? Well, I think it's the proper information, the proper knowledge, the proper foods, and many of the things that Dr. McCullough talked about. But at the same time, don't you think that we can help ourselves with the proper self-talk? Now, I'm not talking about positive thinking, have a positive mental attitude. You know, I'm not going to stand up here and say, oh, listen, if you just say, I'm a skinny person, I'm a thin person, and overnight you're going to lose all that weight. Come on. I don't think that works, right? We can use affirmations, and those are okay. But more importantly, what I want you to start to do is to become aware of that self-talk and start thinking in terms of what it is that you do want. And that was one of the first questions on this page. Do I really want to lose my unwanted weight? And is it my idea? Is it somebody else's idea? I was doing a seminar, and it was a company, a small company, and the spouses were with the people in the company. And this one gentleman, he looked at me, he owned the company, and he looked, and his wife was sitting right next to him, and he looks at me, and he says, can you help her to stop smoking? Now, guess what? It doesn't matter if it's stop smoking or losing weight. The same thing. Vicki, will you hold your hand up here for a second? Alrighty. Will you push on Effie's hand? And y'all try this with your neighbor. Ron, push on mine for a second. Push on it. Alrighty. Try it on Jackie. Y'all try it. Louise, what happened? What did you all notice? Exactly. Resistance. And it's a subconscious reflex. Anytime that if I come in and I start to tell you, you really need to lose a little weight, you need to quit smoking, you need to change, even if it's good for us, we'll have a tendency to push right back. Now, Vicki was real nice, and she was gentle, but the more I pushed, you finally just pushed right back, didn't you? So it's a subconscious reflex anytime that we feel like we're being pushed or pressured into changing. So I want to make sure that you want to, and it's your idea, to lose the weight. Now, it's okay if somebody that loves you, you know, they would like to see you healthier or happier. That's fine. But as long as they keep pushing you, tell them, please, we don't need any extra pushing, do we? We've got plenty of pushing with our own self-talk. Let's go back to this for a second. That self-talk, let me define it a little bit more. It's estimated that the average person thinks or talks to themselves somewhere around 3,000, and it could be plus or minus. I just want you to get the big picture here. 3, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 words per minute. Okay? How does that compare to how fast we can talk out loud? Many, many times faster are we talking up here than we can out loud. We can only talk out loud maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 500 words a minute out loud. Every time I mention this, it reminds me of a lady that used to work in our office, and Carol, I love her, and boy, I mean, I never timed her, but I think she was approaching Mach 1. She was, but most of us can only talk 3 or 4 or 500 words a minute. 3 or 4 or 5,000 words a minute is our self-talk. Here's the scary part, and it doesn't have to be, but it is until we start to learn about this. The scary part is that this self-talk, 3 or 4 or 5,000 words a minute, is somewhere around 60, maybe 70, maybe as high as 85, maybe even higher % negative. All right? Now that's scary, because if you start to multiply, we had a calculator up here, and I don't know that we could even get the number on a calculator. But if you started to multiply 3 or 4,000 words per minute, how many minutes in an hour, how many hours in a day, how many days in a week, how many weeks in a month, how many years have we been talking to ourselves? And if it's 60, 70, 80% negative, okay? You know, you talk about an assault weapon. Unfortunately, too many of us have got an assault weapon, and what I want us to do is to cut it out, stop it, and we can do that, and I'll teach you how. Why is it so negative? Well, it's kind of interesting. A fellow by the name of Dr. Benjamin Spock, many years ago, he made a comment, gave a statistic that 24 out of 25 comments made to a young child are negative. Yipes. Yipes. You know what that equals? I think, if my math is correct, 96% negative input. Is it any wonder? You know, don't do that. You're going to spill that. Watch out. I told you you're going to break that. You're just like you're, and on and on and on. So those of you that have children, be careful what we're saying. We need to correct. We need to manage. We need to help a young child grow up. But instead of telling them everything that they're going to do wrong, let's stop them and say, no, I don't want you to do this. And when you hear them talking about, I'm stupid, I'm clumsy, I'm fat, I'm ugly, you stop them and you say, no, you're not. You're not. And you are a beautiful person. You're a handsome person. You're an intelligent, you're a coordinated person. And you take the negatives, and unfortunately, we're filled with too many negatives on the televisions, on schools. There's some good programs out there, but be careful what you're listening to, what you're watching, who you're hanging around, okay? 96% negative input. Well, let's just cut that in half and say 50%. That's still a lot, isn't it? So it's really no wonder that you and I are growing up talking to ourselves at an incredible high rate of speed, but an incredibly negative mode as well. Let me ask you this. Would any of you allow me to talk to you the way that you sometimes talk to you? Yeah, thank you, Louise. I need a ride back to my place. Would you be so kind? Sure, Jim, I'll take you. And as soon as I get in the car, I start in. And besides that, do you remember how? And you start in, okay? After about a block or two, I bet you'd stop the car and say, Jim, I don't mind taking you either. You quit talking to me this way or else get out of my car, wouldn't you? And yet, how many times have we driven for miles and miles and weeks and months and years and been beating ourselves up? This is kind of lumped into a concept I refer to as self-image psychology. When I first came across that concept, I thought, well, self-image, you know, I used to work at a men's clothing store. I've got a good self-image, just got a new tie, right? You've heard them say that you can dress them up, but you can't take them out, all right? So self-image psychology, it's nice to have nice clothes and to look good, but it's beyond that. We've got a self-image for everything that we do in life. We've got a self-image as far as losing weight. We've got a self-image as far as being a salesperson. We've got a self-image as far as being a parent, as far as being a singer, an athlete, a golfer. We've got a self-image as far as everything that we do in life. And you can hear what your self-images are by hearing things like, that's the way I am. I've always been that way. That's the way he is. That's the way she is. And I want you to start to become aware of that self-talk and what we're saying. How many times have not us, but somebody that you know say something like, oh, you know, to lose weight, it's going to be really hard. Do you want it to be hard? No. All right, why reinforce things that we don't want? We all have, hopefully, internet now, or we're getting into that. If you've got the high internet, something like Roadrunner, those of you that may have Roadrunner, have you ever seen their icon? And it's the little Roadrunner, and you type in, and you want to go out on the web, and as soon as you type it in and hit enter, it starts to run out there into the World Wide Web, and it starts to come back with what you're looking for, right? Now, what am I getting to? I want you to be very, very careful of what questions you're asking yourself. Why am I so fat? Why is it so hard to lose weight? What questions are we asking? As we ask those types of questions, it's like entering into the address bar a website that we really don't want to go see. And so what we want to do is to start asking the right questions. We don't have to do this loud, but I want you to do it at least quietly and start asking questions like, why is it that I eat the right foods? Why is it that I drink the right liquids? Why is it that losing weight is easy for me? And watch your road runner start to go out and come back with answers to support those questions. Does that make sense? And aren't those the real questions? And isn't it kind of crazy if we keep sending a road runner, we keep sending, and what medically